everyone, welcome to Virtuous Vineyards. My name is Rebecca and this is Nancy, and today we're going to be talking about the topic of attachment. And Nancy, today we're going to talk about attachment to people and to devices as well. First of all, attachment to the wrong people. It's real easy for anyone, but especially girls in the middle school, high school age, to become too attached to someone too quickly. And that can be someone in person, that can be someone on the internet. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we build a relationship with someone before we start sharing, very personal, private things. Because we don't want to confide in someone who does not have our best interest at heart and will take that information and use it to hurt us. But by no means am I saying don't trust anyone. I'm not saying that. But we do have to be careful, especially in this day and age with social media and everything. It can lead us down the wrong road very quickly. So just make sure that when you're getting to know someone, that you keep that in mind as you're going through the relationship process with them. Also being clingy as well. I went through that stage where I would have a crush on a boy, and I was just, it's all I could think about. I was, want to be around him all the time. But you really can't lead with your emotions like that. Number one, it's not good for you. Number two, the person you're being clingy with, they don't appreciate that, and that's not going to make them like you anymore as a person either. So that's something we need to, I think, be aware of with that. Another thing, and this is everybody too, is over-identifying with strangers. With the social media out there, it's real easy to, meet someone on Facebook or see their information on Instagram or something like that, and you think, oh, we've got the same qualities, we've got the same hobbies, I bet that person would be a good person to hang out with, which we really don't know that person. So one, always be careful on social media. Make sure your parents know that you're using social media and they know what you're using, because there are predators out there that look for young girls to meet and get close to and meet outside of the social media aspect. So please, please, please be careful with that. Your parents are not being nosy. They're not overstepping their boundaries when they're asking you who you're talking to and what you're doing. Please don't think that for a second, because there's bad people out there that do not have your best intentions at heart, and please just know your parents are watching out for you as far as that goes. And another thing too I think about is when you're in school, getting caught up in the wrong groups. Again, the same thing. They may make you feel welcome. They may say, hey, you're like us, you should hang out with us. But ultimately, if those people are doing the wrong things and they're just the wrong crowd of people, no matter how much they make you feel like you're welcomed and you're a part of something, you can't be involved in that. So just use your discretion and think, hey, is this something that I need to be doing? Because ultimately, your self-confidence and your self-worth is going to determine how you perceive those things. So please know that you need to realize what the right thing is to do for you, and just don't go with the flow because somebody's making you feel welcomed with that.
Right.
Anything?
I would probably tie all of that up by saying just be yourself. Ultimately, that's the most important thing. And if you have to change yourself in order to be liked, or order to have a guy that, let's say, you have a crush on, in order for them to like you, but you have to change yourself, then you're not being true to yourself, and that person is not going to be liking you for who you are, but more so of who you pretend to be. So ultimately, they're not going to be loving you, or they're not going to like you. So just be yourself.
That's very, very good advice. So we've got a question from one of our viewers, so we're just going to take a listen to that real quick.
I have a long-term crush and I can't stop thinking about him. What should I do?
Well, that's a great question. Nancy, what do you think about that?
That is a really good question, and I think all of us at some point in time have gone through that type of situation. The first thing that we need to do is identify, whether this crush is a good crush or a bad crush. So a bad crush is a crush where you lose sight of yourself, and you lose sight of who you are. Some examples of that might be when you stop focusing on you and you start kind of losing sight of or neglecting your family members or your friends, or even activities that you do outside of school, and even your homework. You can't think of any of that stuff because all you can think about is that crush. That can be considered a bad crush. Another thing to also look at is if the only reason why you have that crush, let's say it might be just in a physical aspect. Let's say that you think this guy is super cute and you can't get over the fact that this guy is so cute, but you really don't know much about that guy, and you don't know what their interests are, what their values are, what type of person that guy really is. So that's kind of what you would look at identify as a bad crush. Now, on the other hand, a good crush, a healthy crush, would be again not losing sight of yourself. You don't neglect any of your values or any of your loved ones, your family, your friends, the activities that you do, and your crush is more based on not just the physical aspect of the person, but you're focusing more so on what the guy is, of his values. If he's a good, caring guy and you notice that he always does things for other people, and that's really what attracts you to that person, or even when you have the same type of interests and you guys like the same type of things, that can kind of be considered as a good crush. And ultimately, these type of good crushes, you don't lose sight of who you are, and those crushes, or that person that you like, actually compliments you and makes you a better person. So the first thing that I would do is kind of take your emotions outside of that and kind of really focus and list reasons of why you really like that person or why you have this crush, and then take it from there.
That's really good advice, Nancy. Okay, so the next thing we wanted to address is attachment to social media. How many of us, including ourselves, have become so attached to our telephones that we cannot be without them? We go into panic mode when we're like, where's the phone? Where's the phone? Where's my phone? Where'd I put it? That's not a good thing in itself, is to be attached to something like that. With our cell phones, it's great because we have, some of us have the internet on the phones, we have text messaging, social media, and we can get all of this information right at our fingertips, and that's awesome, right? Not so much, not all the time. The bad things with that is you don't have any quiet time. I mean, how many of you, sit down and read a book or sit down for prayer time and your phone's nearby and it's constantly buzzing you or telling you you've got an email or telling you you've got a
Snapchat
or text message. And this goes for adults too. So I'm talking to myself as I'm saying this. So when you've got something like that around all the time, you can't really quieten yourself. And so when you can't quieten yourself, it's very hard to have prayer time. It's very hard to take some time of reflection. And besides that, there's also problems with the connection aspect itself. You've got problems with bullying. You've got problems with pornography. People are much more likely to bully others through social media. Nancy and I were talking about this before, where when there's that wall, it's like a protective wall, you can say nasty things to people that you wouldn't normally say face to face. So that's another aspect you have to watch out for. The pornography, for girls as young as 10 years old, some are getting graphic pictures sent to their telephones. Some are sending these pictures. There's a recent study that came out that from the ages of just 10 to 12, 54% of girls with cell phones that receive pictures receive inappropriate pictures from guys. 26% of the ones that reported and admitted to doing it, 26% said they had sent inappropriate pictures. That's crazy, especially at that young age. So just know, I don't care how much you like a boy, if somebody is asking you to send an inappropriate picture where there's just no need for that, please tell an adult about that, because whether you feel it or not, that is that's harassment and that's bullying when they start asking you to show these inappropriate pictures. If you know a friend of yours that feels like she needs to do it for a boy to like her, please tell an adult that is inappropriate and it's crossing so many lines on that. So do not get caught up in that. Another things with the selfie culture, people are constantly taking pictures of themselves and putting pictures up. Number one, that brings in the term narcissism. And for those of you who don't know what that word means, it's just an excessive interest in your physical appearance and what you look like. And so when people are constantly taking pictures of themselves, they are looking for someone to like their picture. They're looking for someone to say compliments. And ultimately, that's a lack of self-confidence in yourself. So when these girls put up these pictures, maybe you're not a girl that puts up pictures of yourself. Maybe you're looking at these pictures thinking, gosh, she's pretty. I don't look like her. I wish I was as pretty as her. And maybe you start feeling bad about yourself. Don't. There's no need to compare yourself with somebody else. You are gorgeous and beautiful just the way you are. It's just in this society where you're constantly getting, bombarded with these things, whether it's television, where it's movies, it's on your telephone. You're constantly getting bombarded with these images. Do not feel like you have to live up to that. Don't feel like you have to be that person, because chances are there's people looking at you who wish they were like you. So don't feel like you have to be with be like somebody else or look like somebody else. And so that's the main thing, is just the attachment. One, you don't want to get too attached to people unnecessarily. Be careful with your crushes. And please be careful with your phone and social media. And when your parents want to know what's going on and what you're doing, don't get angry at them, because in the world today, we've got to watch out for you guys. So be understanding with that. We're understanding with you guys. It's not a trust issue for you. It's a trust issue for the people out there who are trying to get to you. So just be careful with those things. And Nancy, anything else?
Yeah, I would say that too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and it's unhealthy. Taking selfies, it's not a bad thing, but when you go and do it in excess, then it starts becoming a bad thing, because you start losing sight of yourself and you stop living in the present moment. And ultimately, that's what we should do. We should enjoy life, and you should enjoy life, and going out, hanging out with your friends, doing things that you love to do. And sometimes putting that phone away actually gives you that opportunity to enjoy the moments versus constantly being on them. So I would definitely encourage you guys to, maybe, for an hour a day at first, leave your phone in your room, or just simply turn it off and actually enjoy the moments with your family, with your friends, and just take time for yourself.
Well, that's good advice, Nancy. So put your phones down, spend the time in the present moment, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you.